So 10 years.
10 years!
We have been collaborating for 10 years now with Madison Children's Museum.
Yes.
And that was Adult Swim, the Shakespeare's death anniversary 400.
Yes.
In April 2016. So what, I guess, I'm curious, what about that went well enough that we're still doing this 10 years later?
Well, it's funny, we have always been a space that is a great place for kids to get their first exposure to the performing arts. So they don't have to sit still, they can wiggle around a bit, they can make a little noise, the performances are shorter. And when we started our Adult Swim series, wanting to open up the museum to grown-ups, we kind of took the same approach. So at our early Adult Swim events, I would have avant-garde jazz or some contemporary chamber music, things to give adults maybe a little taste of something they weren't regularly attending. And theater is even more connected to what happens at the museum. It's physical and people are role-playing, which is exactly how kids are playing and learning at the museum. And I had noticed that Madison Shakespeare Company was popping up in some unusual venues and might be, you know, light on their feet and a good fit for the odd spaces we have here. When we bring in performers, I have to go through a whole sort of spiel about how we don't have a theater. People will be moving around. The spaces have immovable structures in them, but it's an art-filled environment, and it has proven to be an inspiring place for many performers.
And there's nothing better for us than to be shown an interesting space with an existing setup that has the climbing structure or a tree, and be asked, what would you do with this if you could do whatever you wanted with that space? And we've been so fortunate that Madison Children's Museum not only keeps offering those spaces, but keeps constructing new ones to then offer to us.
Bigger ones, in fact. So we started out having you, I think, on our rooftop patio and in an indoor early childhood space, and now we've gotten bigger, and you've gotten bigger, and we have the Wonderground space as a great space for theater.
We've moved a chicken coop to be able to perform. We've put kings up on the railing of the Wonderground. So it's been amazing evolving what we can do here as the museum itself evolves.
What did you first think when invited to come and perform at a children's museum?
Well, every time the invitation has come, it's been, this is exactly what we should be doing. So that first contact was, we're Madison Children's Museum, we're having adults over to celebrate Shakespeare's 400th birthday, and I think in so many words you said, I think you should be here. And I said, you're absolutely right, we should be there. Now let's put together all the programming that makes an evening like that work. So no, it was the ideal opportunity to do what MSC was created to do, which was to present classic theater in the heart of the city. Like, that's what the company was started to do. And Madison Children's Museum, being centrally located right off the square, in the heart of so many things to do, before and after a performance. So that initial inquiry 10 years ago, and the discussions that we continue to have today, are exactly where we want to be to do what we do, which is to bring classic theater to the heart of Madison.
Well, and we, being in the heart of the city, we're clearly primarily designed for young children and their families, but we are a downtown cultural center that has lots of offerings for adults. Lots of adults live in our neighborhood, and we've really been wanting to find ways to invite the whole community into the museum, and collaborations like this have helped make that happen.
I'm curious about the growth of Adult Swim, because that was one of the early handful, right?
We started slow. Our museum in our current building opened in summer of 2010, and in spring of 2011 we experimented with an event for adults, primarily because a lot of our staff and volunteers were young adults who had friends who were very curious to see the museum, but felt like without a young child in tow that it felt odd or out of place. So the very first one was publicized in public, but it was primarily a chance for all of us to invite our friends into the space. I had hoped that 100 people would come, and we had about 300 or 350 come, just sort of through word of mouth. And it was really amazing to see that adults not only wanted to climb on this big, tall, two-story climber, but so many of them wanted to put on little toddler capes and do puppet shows and make crafts out of pine cones. And it struck me that I work around those things all the time. I have easy access to any of that, but adults are really missing that opportunity to play. And imbuing the performing arts and a classical theater company into that kind of a vibrant and occasionally chaotic environment is something that I quite enjoy as a person when I'm going out to find arts events to go to.
So I know what it's like from the inside of one of these productions, because this will be the second time that we're performing a full-length classical play on the Wonderground. And what it does for us is it gives us this really eye-catching three-dimensional structure. So where you place actors, sort of above, below. Are they climbing? Are they descending? Are they tangled in the net? Are they hanging out behind the bucket? Those are all things that really help tell the story in an amazing way. What I don't have as good of an insight in, hoping you can help, Kia, is what is the experience of going to see a full-length play at the Wonderground?
That's a great question, and 2 years ago was the first time that you did a full-length production, and it was really a magical experience for me as someone who was getting to sit and watch, but also kind of tending to the logistics. But just having the sun come down and being in the center of the city while this play is unfolding was really, really wonderful. And our museum is very has a DIY kind of ethic and is very handmade and made by real living artists who live in our community. And Madison Shakespeare Company sort of fits that vibe as well, of people coming together to put on a show and make something cool happen, and really a good fit.
Yeah. So you're this time around you will be getting the real comedic history of King Edward IV. He doesn't get his own play from Shakespeare. This is Thomas Heywood who wrote this up for him. He's just sort of a side character in his predecessors' plays, Henry VI and Richard III. But when you come, you will be getting the story of the king, his wife the queen, his mistress Jane Shore, and his mistress's husband Matthew Shore, who goes from jeweler to pirate, as you do once the king kind of locks on to Jane. And over the course of about 2 hours, you'll get that entire story, which is not one that typically is seen in full length. We've been developing it in scenes over the past several years. We've done scenes from Edward here at Adult Swim events, but this is the first time that anybody in the area has taken on the full-length story. So you come in, you go through the gate. There's going to be concessions down there, just like at a standard theatrical presentation. You find your seat, and over the course of the next 2 hours, this larger-than-life English king and the pirates and ne'er-do-wells and lawful types that sort of surround him, they'll play out that story for you. So we are really looking forward to that.
And you've purposely chosen plays that are less familiar than a Romeo and Juliet, or
I guess so. I think what we've really done, because the way that the question was again, it was Kia came to us and said, what would you do on this space if you could do whatever you wanted? And the first time around, that was Dido, Queen of Carthage, because in my mind I had been looking for what will represent Aeneas and the ship that he's trying to build, and this setting that needed something that it isn't just found in the landscape of Dane County. So what I really like to do is find those stories that need something specific, that need that vibe that the Wonderground has, something that's larger than life, that's unconventional. So Edward IV was the next selection. I mean, yes, you could do the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene on the turret. That would make sense. But you can do that story in a lot of different places. But to tell the story of this, he was the party king. He was the party king of England. So to tell something that's big and sweeping, when you've got the option to do it at the Wonderground, why beat our brains out trying to make something big to illustrate it when it's right here? So for me, it's more about what's the story that wants that size, that scope, that interest, and opens up those opportunities. So that's why Dido and Edward and some of the other plays, it's wanting something that honors and merits getting this large, amazing, climbable, interactive space.
And it's geared toward adults, but at the Dido production we had some savvy teens come and really enjoyed it. What age would you recommend for this play?
I generally say that 12 plus is a good guideline, you know, kind of that PG-13, TV-14. Typically, frankly, a young person who has the attention span and interest for a 2-hour play is probably one for whom the thematic elements will be a fit. This is, of course, an individual parental decision, but you know, we generally say somebody who's in it to win it for a 2-hour classical language presentation is probably going to be fine. But yes, as a baseline, 12 plus, PG-13, TV-14, those types of realms fit about the themes and subject matter of the story.
I'm curious, from the Dido production, what was the most challenging piece of the physical environment to work around?
So we often work in spaces where the dressing room, the green room where the actors are, it may just be on the other side of the wall where the audience is. In this case, we use multiple spaces to stash our actors, including the 4th floor of the Children's Museum itself. So that's one of the things that we have to train actors on, is your entrance is going to be quite a ways away. It's all those stairs down there, or if you think you're done and you think you can go back and have a drink of water up to the 4th floor, you need to be sure that you know how to get back down there. So it is that expanse. Many of our actors are familiar with doing outdoor performances, so that changes things like, what do you do when the sun is in your eyes? What do you do when it gets a little noisy because you're in the heart of the city? So those are always a little bit different depending on where you are. I think the horn that brings in all the boats, that was one we weren't accounting for. Because you're like, wow, you're going to be downtown, you're going to hear this, you might hear a med flight helicopter, it might be this, sun might be here, but the boat horn off the lake, that one was something that we didn't know about until it happened. So, and it happens at a slightly different point in the story every night, because of course, the light, right, wherever that pivot point is that makes them blow the horn, that's different every night. So it's going to hit a slightly different note in the story each time.
Many, many years ago, I played in the pit orchestra for HMS Pinafore at the Union Theater, and the first night I thought the horn was part of the soundscape, and it really did. Every night hit slightly later in the show. Yeah. We have a great summer season of events for adults. Some are strictly for adults, our Adult Swim series. We have one on June 5th. And then we have a series called Live from the Wonderground, which brings live music into the Wonderground. It's an outdoor event series once a month. It's free. People are welcome to bring kids, and many do, but an equal number are adults who come and have a really wonderful happy hour with live music. And we have a page of our website dedicated to events for adults. If you go to our programming tab, you can find that. So we'll start off with an Adult Swim at the beginning of June. We'll have our 5 productions of Edward with Madison's Shakespeare Company, and then the first Fridays, July through September, we'll have Live from the Wonderground.
Excellent. We're really thrilled to be a part of it. Hope that you will be there with us June 19th when Edward IV makes its Madison premiere.